bring it in, Keaton.
Alrighty. Welcome everybody to the Syndicate podcast. My name is Keaton Mitchell. To my left, I have Dylan Connell. And further to my left, I have Regan Thompson. Today, we're going to be talking about a question that has been asked on Regan's post on his Instagram, Regan Thompson 23, asking people what they want to hear us talk about. And this is one of the questions. I'll get Dylan to read that out for you.
All right, so we've got two questions. One of them is from my story post, but they're sort of the same. So the first one off Regan's post was by rye.lee88. Ooh.
Excuse me. Sorry, everyone.
So this one is from rye.lee8848, and he said weight distribution and size ratio of a scooter could be interesting, or what parts, or what features / specs do you think will be on parts of the future? And the other question is from Robert. He said, where do you think scooter parts are going to go from here, etc., wider than 7 and so on? So I think both of those questions sort of tie into each other.
Yeah, definitely. So, sorry to interrupt, but I was just going to say, I think for the ratio of things, we obviously touched on the ratios in another episode. I can't remember exactly what episode that was.
It is up on YouTube as scooter geometry, wheelbases, and
wheelbase. Yep,
angles.
that's right.
That's the title of it. Yep.
So I was thinking that we could just speak about the other dimensions of scooter parts and how they kind of interact with one another, other than wheelbase and head tube angle.
Yeah, other than the things we covered in that episode.
Yeah, and I think we could just kind of touch them, do one by one and just kind of talk about the different dimensions and how they, I guess, interact with you and your writing. So
off air, I was like, oh, we kind of half talked about this, and then literally just sitting here now, I'm like, I would be happy if every second episode of the Syndicate podcast was like that.
Yeah.
Just let's just, what more can we talk about in regards to scooter geometry, ratios, designs, stuff like that. Yeah. So this is, man, buckle the fuck up, people. I'm going in.
Well, I think I'll start with a negative of scooter geometry and an issue that I come into face with all the time.
That's why we have Chronal on the podcast, is to always come from the glass half empty side of things.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's really important. I think fork length, the legs, I think that is a super important thing to talk about, because I see a lot of people, for example, on native decks, and they'll be riding a tilt fork, but they don't really realize that the tilt fork, the legs are a lot longer. So I'm talking about from, where the top of the crown race is to your axle or the bottom of the fork. And because the tilt forks are longer, they are scraping on 50s. Your front axle's lower than the back axle. And there's so many inconsistencies on different brands of forks and decks, which
Aztec had shorter fork prongs, which meant that you were always riding in
Tiny
nose mani,
but would never scrape your fork on a 50.
You would never scrape your fork on a 50.
But then your bars feel like they're at an 86 head tube angle.
Yeah,
because you're riding real forward.
Yeah.
So if you took those Aztec forks, put them on a tilt deck, tilt being one of the longest forks there is, you're going to run into a lot of issues. Your front axle will be almost higher than the extrusion of your deck, which would feel terrible.
Crazy.
So I like to really measure the parts that I ride. I don't like to have any inconsistencies with my scooter, in regards to that type of geometry.
He's not lying.
Yeah. I got the tilt deck and I was like, damn, I can't run my own forks because the legs are too short, because I designed them to fit native and Aztec.
So if everyone just designs their parts based around native scooters products, that would be super. He is.
Yeah, I am. I guess. Well,
I've always said I want to get every company owner of every scooter brand and then just add them to a Facebook group and then just be all right, we all need to sit down and we need to come to a conclusion on certain sizes, not everything obviously, but just things like
The important shit.
Yeah, the important stuff that makes one brand's parts work with another brand's parts.
This is what Broussard touched on in the Raymond Warner podcast, Scooter Zone podcast. What's the name of it? Does anyone know?
No, I'm not sure.
Oh, I forget.
God damn it. I wanted to do what I hear done on cool podcasts where they're like, go check out that other like sick
Oh, go
podcast.
check out Raymond Warner's podcast.
But I zoned out. Scooter
Oh, yeah,
Zone,
yeah,
Zoned Out.
yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I don't know.
If not, I just gave you like a silly name, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have opinions and questions on and for Broussard on some things, but for the most part, I agree with a lot of his like scooter, design theory and stuff. Again, but I have mixed, very mixed feelings on it. But he said in that thing, like every company, he even said like the axle bolt needs to be like the same length, and I don't think that's true. There's like a level of like, no, we're not idiots, and like the scooter riders will be educated by the shops or the the parts they get sent with their parts will like you don't have to be like that far, but that there is a level of like, that's his whole big thing is standardization.
Yeah.
It needs to. I think standardization is like, in a way, not what we want. Like, obviously we don't want to standardize.
Especially
if you limit it, that it's like saying like, don't try and make something that's not a part of the standardization to like excel scootering. Don't do that. Like stay within the realm that we've created now. If we did that for like deck width, then we'd always still be riding 4.5 inch width decks, because it's like, no, we need like, this is the standard. Like, don't make more than that.
That's another thing. So Broussard wants to standardize like the internal wall, like diameter, like wall to wall, the millimeters in between.
And then all the spaces are the same.
All the spaces be the same, but then like as decks get wider, you need to make those walls wider as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to be on a 7 wide with internal walls that are still close together, which means your deck's probably going to bend up at the sides. So stuff like that you can't standardize.
And it's how easy is it to get a axle? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, axles you can get from anywhere, any size. So it's like not that big of a deal if axle on one deck is longer than an axle on another deck, and
as long as the parts you purchase have the right stuff to like
work with each other,
the part you're purchasing, and it will like
that's the
work
most
with another
important
part.
thing in my opinion, that parts work together with other parts. But like a deck axle on one deck doesn't. You're not going to swap the axle over. You get an axle when you get a deck. So
and for parts to work with other parts, the only thing that I can see that's an issue is the forks, because like your SCS, for the most part, it's going to work on whatever fork, whatever bars, whatever deck. But the length from your crown race to your axle, like that varies a lot, and it's like a crazy amount. It's not just like half a mil or a mil. We're talking like
varies a lot between scooter companies.
Yeah, between different types of forks.
Yeah.
So,
have you come across 10 mil difference?
Not. Maybe the Tilt and the Aztec could be pretty close.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, so it's pretty gnarly. I think that needs to be standardized.
That's like the equivalent of having, 100 mil on the, like, say everything was lined up and you had 100 mil wheel on the front, but a 120 aside, 120 on the back.
Yeah.
Like, that's, and like, I mean, sometimes you could
terrible.
do that, but that would be horrible.
I think Juzzy does that every time that he, like, have you seen his back wheel? For the most part, it's
like
usually
a 90 millimeter
and his front wheel's like perfect, and then
opposite though.
Yeah, that's the opposite.
I wonder if he just sits there with like his wheel on a lathe and just lathes it down.
Why? Because maybe the MGP deck has a certain thing that when he's actually got a small wheel on the back, his scooter's level.
Who knows? With some of the forks out there, that's what the case would be.
I just want to cut in and make a pledge live on air, even though we're not live, that we will do it through native, at least try, and this is stealing from Keaton's idea, which you like talked to me about before of just, we'll just do it. We'll just look at our parts and our stuff, and obviously not any of our the precious specific parts of our designs that are our specific knowledge, but rear axle to front axle to then 10 mil back from the axle to whatever head tube angle you have. Thus, you should have your it's not so much the crown race on your fork, but the where the bearing goes into in the deck. Like, it wouldn't be too hard to just, okay, this is what we do.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're another sick rider-owned company that we know, or if you're Fox Pro
that we're like competing
wherever.
against.
There's no competitiveness to just
Yeah.
making your forks not too long,
Yeah.
or making your forks not too short.
I mean,
it
this-
just takes someone to say,
Yeah.
hey, this is mine and it's out there, and this is what we do, works for us, it's out there for all of you to use. Just this is such a positive sum game if we all work off this.
I mean, this is like a little bit different, but what did Ethic do when they created 12 mil standard?
Yeah.
They posted a diagram of the 12
proper
mil
designs for
standard
anyone who
and being
wanted to
like, this
match.
is the
Yeah.
future. Like, they called it the standard. They're like, this is what we see. And, it obviously didn't take off. And,
Because it's not.
yeah, because it's not the
It's not
standard.
as much as I love Kevin and his designs, it's not.
I think it's
where-
amazing,
Yeah.
but it has its like negatives, like things that you have to weigh up.
See, that should be done for head tube,
Yeah.
crown races, actual things
Yeah.
that it
And
should be
and
done
there are
for.
other things like, I mean, fork tube length. I think that's gotten a lot better now, but that's been something I've spoken about. Like, you shouldn't buy a fork and a SES, and and a
Unless-
deck, and then you get it from, like, say, an
Yeah.
online store, say Syndicate.
Yeah.
Probably is where you're getting it. You should be.
Of course.
Yeah. You get it all. You're so stoked. You put it together, and then the fork comes up higher than the middle of your SES, and you're like, I need a spacer, and I live in a rural area.
Yeah.
Like, I need a headset
Can
spacer.
that even possibly happen anymore with scooter parts? Sure, I'm a little bit
Yeah,
detached.
I think so. I
You
remember.
put a native fork on an Aztec, you're gonna need a spacer.
True. Okay. Yeah.
Tilt fork on an Aztec, you're gonna need a spacer.
Yeah.
I
there you
put.
go.
I remember when
110
the
mil
Urban
head
Art
tube
forks
on the
come
native.
in.
Yeah.
They had quite long fork tubes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And
But,
I think native's the odd guys out. I don't think many people do 110 millimeter head tubes anymore.
No, I'll
Some are 100, some are
It might
105.
be
105,
50-50.
100,
Yeah.
110,
What
but
decks are 105?
There's no way
Envy.
that tilt
Envy are
formula
105.
head tubes, not 110.
The what?
Tilt formula.
yeah, I feel like tilt would
No,
be
it is
110.
110.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say.
But
Native's not
I only
one out
really,
then.
well, I mean, like the minority. I think a lot of people are going to the 100
talking
mil
shit
head
on
tubes.
Ethic?
They're like
They're-
100.
Yeah,
If that.
yeah.
They're the
They're
same
one-
as
yeah,
Aztec.
100. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
105 from my
yeah,
memory
it is.
from 10 years of working in.
Like it's just dumb. Like I don't get why that's so different. I think 110 is like the smartest option because you get 10 mil more bar height if you need it.
Well,
Envy
I think
IHC all the way, so they couldn't care.
But
Yeah.
even Envy forks on their own decks, you get like not even an inch of fork tube coming out of the
Yeah,
deck. It's
yeah.
like
Okay. Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
very very stupid why
Yeah.
they make those forks so
Yeah.
so short.
Yeah.
Like especially like if you've brought out HIC bars or an SES, like it's just so like HIC I think is like the worst to clamp to like no fork tube.
yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, I agree that 110 should be it because I feel like 10 mil more of a deck extrusion is better than 10 mil more of bar, to reach your desired
height.
height. I feel like it's
like head tubing.
like a
stronger bit down.
stronger,
there,
lighter, probably.
Less flex
maybe.
on the bar.
Yeah.
Good point.
But
good
so
point.
another thing that I would speak about is the other than the fork tube situation where you need headset spaces, but also a small thing that I've experienced is the depth that headset cups are
On the top.
recessed
Yeah,
in the top and the bottom,
Yeah.
mainly the top actually.
Yeah.
I know
99%
Apex is
of the top.
notorious for really deep headset cups.
Yeah, and so people
but
put their
their
scooters
headset
together.
Top caps, their brand of headset top caps are machined a very specific way
But even for the bottom
To-
cup.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
where
about.
others would. I remember that being a thing, wasn't it? Other other company headset top caps on an Apex
Bottom, like they just
top
rub.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the top.
Yeah, on the top. Yeah. So like again, I've actually had this recently. Somebody emailing me like, I bought all of these parts like from you guys, and I'm like tightening it up, and then it's just not spinning. And then when I get the fork spinning, then the compression loosens, and I'm like, I need to get you like micro spaces, and I don't know how many, and like like I ended up just like finding some because we didn't really have any, and I just sent him them, and it fixed the problem because I sent him like a stack. But yeah, it's just like a silly thing. It's like why isn't that just a measurement? Like you put the headset cups in this much, like the grooves, and then the headset top cap, the external wall, I suppose, is however deep.
I think
it'll be on the blueprint.
Yeah.
Nah, for real, like just like what are we 16 minutes in? I'm like itching to like go home and like start this. Like it's just it's just
It's like, and I feel like I personally, and actually, well, you two have been in the same position as me as a retail worker at a scooter store. Like that a customer experiences it maybe like once every now and then when they get new scooter parts.
Not
if
really.
that. Maybe once.
You experience it for them.
Yeah. For sure. I'm like every day especially in the physical retail store, I'm just like, you can get this, but it won't work with this. And not even because it's different compressions, because it's like, I know that these are just
fork legs are going to scrape the freaking bottom of that deck that you're trying to put it on.
Yeah, for sure.
That's another one.
And
that
people coming in all the time, with it and being like, this doesn't work. And I'm just like, I got to find this loose part for you here and there. Cause like these parts aren't made of abundance, like micro spaces and
a big, this is definitely different because it's not a non-compatible thing, but when we got to designing the native stuff and we did the Omni fender, which is still a great functioning fender now, in my opinion, but maybe becoming more and more outdated now. But the locking channel in the bottom of it to hold the nut is like, that was just the amount of times, and especially the amount of freaking Chetties we sold at one stage and then installed, but not just them, other ones like people making scooter parts and just going like, here, like, and it comes with the nuts and bolts and stuff, but how difficult it freaking was to like line
find
that
pliers.
up. Do you remember the tool we had that? So it was the grip tape to hold the nut in, so it was sticky on the grip tape, and you put that on the spanner and put it in, and it's like, bro, that with the Omni fender, it was just like you just get the Omni fender and you slide it in because the nuts are in a locking channel where they're just there, and it's like, man, just take like 3 more seconds when you're designing the scooter part and going, well, how's the person going to put this on? Can I do anything to help them? Because the back of scooter decks is, what's the measurement, Dylan, between the bottom?
About 2.5 to 2 mil.
This is my Rain Man.
Depending on what deck you have.
Wait, how much did you say?
2.5 mil to 2 mil, I assume.
No, the space between the top, the bottom of the extrusion and the bottom
walls.
Oh, like internal.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Maybe depending on what deck you have.
Maybe it's not my Rain Man. Nah. Like
around 15 to 20.
Yeah, because you're talking about the middlest part where the concave is the furthest down.
I thought you meant like the channel at the top thickness.
Anyway. That's like another thing that is, I guess, in this territory of this conversation is just
I don't know if I want to go too down the rabbit hole, because I was going to say other things about like wheels not working with forks that say they should work, but they don't, because like
Urbanar. I'll call them out.
Okay.
I love Urbanar and the dudes and the riders and everything, but there's someone there who designed a freaking fork.
They have 30 mil wheels with 24 millimeter cores, and then they make 30 millimeter forks that don't work with that because they don't meet the 24 millimeter core, and they have 24 millimeter forks that would work with the core, but you can't fit the urethane in. They do have one fork that's like a universal fork that'll work with it, but then it doesn't work with a lot of other designs.
You can just copy it. You don't have to make 3 forks.
And any scooter brand owners that are watching this, stop with the 24 mil core on 30 wide wheels,
dude. We had a pair of Root Industry freaking Invictus.
I'm trying to sell them on Marketplace right now because we could never sell them at Syndicate.
No,
Pay someone to take them.
No, dude, we sold them. They got shipped.
That's right.
They got returned.
Yeah.
Then they got sold again. And then I think at that point we're like, yo, do you have, like, sent an email? And we're like, nah, I think that happened like twice.
Yeah.
And then it was just like these, and I remember once I saw a comment and someone talked shit on a native product for not fitting that specific, like, wheel. And I was like, oh, if I could, like, slap you right now with this pair of wheels that we haven't been able to sell for 3 years because of how stupid the, like, design is. 24 mil
I just
on the
remembered.
inside, 30 mil on the outside.
If you have spaces in your forks that slide in and not, like, clip in, like the Versus.
Yeah.
Then
Then
it's
it'll
just
work.
the Versus spaces.
No, it's the
That's
it's
the
the wheel's
majority
fault.
of spaces.
It's the wheel's fault. So with the Versus, obviously you got to slide the spaces in through like the axle hole,
and then put
the wheel in. But then you need the 24 mil spaces, which can't accommodate for the 30 wide.
I just got to say, I tried to sell the wheels actually, and the dude come to my house, and then he pulled out his scooter, and because it said 30 by, I said whatever, but like, they didn't work on his scooter.
So he couldn't buy them?
No, he couldn't buy them.
They
So
were
literally in
Syndicate
Marketplace.
for 3 years, maybe 2 years, sold 3 times, returned. Keaton took it from the warehouse to sell on Marketplace because we had just a bunch of stuff that was just like weren't
going to sell.
too ashamed to even list on Syndicate.
Or like blemished and all of that stuff, but
And then
I
just
try
can't
and
believe it happened again.
It literally happened to me. This dude come to my house at like 8:30 p.m.
It's just so dumb.
Did you at least
doesn't make
was he
sense.
buying other stuff too to make the trip?
I ended up
did the upsell.
I did the upsell. I got him a pair of titanium crisp
hustle never
bars
sleeps.
for like $100.
From
So
wheels to titanium bars.
yeah, literally. Literally, how good is that?
Okay,
but anyway.
refresh.
Scooter.
Also, like yelling at scooter companies again for a second.
So back to the brake thing. So a lot of brakes now come with like the thread piece. But how hard would it be to just make your brake holes the same distance apart?
Okay, I got to call out.
company?
I got to call out one brand, and that's Native Scooters. And this one, I'll give you a pass because it's on a complete scooter, and it's just the stem complete. How far away the two holes are from one another, you can't get any other brake to work on.
Unless
that.
you only used one bolt, and
Unless
even
you
then,
only
it's
used one
actually
bolt,
a smaller bolt on the stem.
Oh yeah, it's like
than what's
it's like
used,
not even like a
mainly.
5.
Yeah.
Not that you need to, because the stem fender's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
The stem fender works completely properly with
But
the
no,
deck and everything like that. But
I'll take that.
I did have one experience where somebody was like, I was dealing with somebody over email. They're like, "Oh, can I use this on the stem deck?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I should probably check this actually because it just made sense that it
it's
would."
native, of course, yeah.
And then I checked it and I was like, "Oh, damn, those are so
They
far apart."
They were designed like in a different time, in a different like frame of mind for the stem complete specifically. I'm just like backpedaling here trying to defend
No,
it. but
I will say
I'll call myself out.
The stem fender, the stem complete is the most beautiful complete that I literally. It's not even because you are you and like any of that. It's like no complete kind of flows together. Every part flows together so well. So like definitely give you a pass because
I would say if I was a kid that had a stem scooter, I wouldn't like after I'm like thrashed it a bit whatever and looking at like upgrading or customizing it, I would probably get just a whole new deck once I've like shredded it. I know I
You're
like
not
the street
just
decks.
change the fender.
Yeah, like I don't think I would change that. And it is a street-based scooter, like entry-level street scooter. So
It was designed and developed, and lots of money and time and effort went into it to give kids who wanted a street complete a genuine, decent street complete. Because at the time, I will say, like, it didn't exist. Like, and we were having kids come into the shop every day, like, saying, "I want to go street."
And we're selling them Envy Prodigies with pegs.
Yeah, and even though I don't like the "I want to go street" thing, I still like. We would have to freaking build them $700 customs so that they could have a street scooter, and by then the $700 custom had a freaking 22 to 23 long deck that was like,
Yeah.
6 wide and stuff, because that's what our aftermarket parts were. So that thing, has its specific spot. But I will say the other, to call myself out on that thing, the fender itself, if you take it out, it also brings with it the spaces.
Yeah.
You can just take the spaces out and put them back in, but it's not as beautiful to look at. So
but
that
it was
thing
designed to
is
all
complete,
work
it's
with those
all-
specific parts. So
And
for sure.
It's not, don't buy that complete to save money to get a street scooter and save money instead of getting a custom. Buy that complete if you've new to street scootering and need to a platform to start off. And once you've shredded it, you change your deck, and by then maybe you'll get bigger bars. The rest of the parts on it will last you for a long time anyway. So.
Yeah, and I guess there's only been one or a couple people that want to ride a brake or a different fender on that. I'll drop the stem fender on my scooter if it would fit. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When the Advent 2 came out with the Omni fender on it, in the original copy, the text marketing version of the product, and it would still be on descriptions and stuff, I think, it says all this stuff about the... I thought you were freaking...
Oh my God.
It says all this stuff about the Omni fender and how good it is. 110 mil wheels.
Yeah, that's a very...
wheels, 30 mil whatever. But then at the end I'm like, or you can just take it off.
Yeah.
You can just slide it out.
Well, because the Advent 1...
No, because... Yeah. But because... It was actually because all our team riders, I'm riding with Suave.
Yeah.
No brake.
Reese.
I'm pretty sure no brake.
No. I definitely am a fender guy.
There was a time when you had nothing.
I may have been a brakeless dude, but...
A square of green grip tape,
for the most part...
Advent, I remember you were...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, at one point. And Reese... Suave, multiple team riders and people I know were just nothing to the back.
Yeah.
And I've always ridden the Aztec little brake things because they work as a fender anyway.
Yeah. So anyway,
so we're getting caught up in
brakes
compatibility, but what we're supposed to be talking about is ratios. So I guess how the parts interact with our riding and how they feel and things like that.
True. That's right. It's the podcast.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said supposed to. We're not supposed to do anything, but the question to address it.
Yep.
All right. So ratios.
Getting back on track.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry,
we'll start with
defensive about native parts and went into a big blurt about how awesome they are.
We'll just start with bar width. I suppose. I thought we could just not much to say really, but the wider your bars are, there's probably a level that you get to. You don't have bars this wide, but a wider bar will give you more leverage for tail whips, for more tail whips, considering you use your wrists to spin them around.
Maybe easier for fakies, because
easier for,
you can fine tune your turn a little bit more.
Hill bombs, speed wobbles, this compared to this.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Coming
is.
from the guy who bombs hills with his forks backwards and no hands. Specifically,
it actually helps with that. Yeah.
I've heard you say before you tried to, that's why you didn't ride aluminium bars for a while, because they were too light
for hill bombs. It started getting
aluminium bars you can bomb hills. Probably not no hands.
But with hands as well, I'm sure there's a level that you can get to. Obviously, there's only so fast you can do no-handed, but with hands going even faster, I'm sure the speed wobbles will get more intense because there's not that weight behind the bars. It's not going to be such a slow...
I've ever had speed wobbles on my scooter, and I've bombed some crazy hills.
I feel like I have.
On a scooter?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it could happen.
I mean,
but I don't know that I've ever gone that.
If you ran bars as thin as David Parsons, I'm sure he gets speed bobbles because of how thin.
True. David, let us know. I have a feeling you're watching.
He's running a bit wider now. I noticed.
Oh, he's on the
Cypher bars.
Yeah, on the Cypher bars.
Yeah.
So he has to.
Yeah.
No choice. Did he cut them in a lot?
Yeah, as much as he could. Yeah.
As much as he could. So Cypher bars plus grips.
Yeah.
So the Y plus grips. That's
he
twice as big as he's ever ridden a bar.
He should come to Brisbane and bomb that hill near Paddington Skate Park.
Oh my god!
On that Marshall on
Queens Road in Woodridge.
Yeah, Queens Road.
Anyway, I think that's
back on track.
Yeah, I think that's as simple as that kind of gets.
Yeah. Skinnier bars.
So
bars.
going into bar material,
bar width. When you're spin front 270 lip, a trick that I do quite a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely a perfect spot of that for me. Like, not too
Yeah.
wide, but not
Yeah.
too thin. If it gets too thin, it can be hard to like bring the stuff around.
yeah.
If it gets too wide, you're just like you're like moving too much. There's
you need like the control, because with spinning, like you want the scooter to kind of stay underneath, or you want to like.
Well, that's just such a
it's hard to say.
It's a big part of just bringing your scooter with you around in the spins, even though it's not exact. Well, a lot of it actually is done in your, once you pop off the scooter, a lot comes with the hands and, neck. It's everything. But not too thin,
I think
not too
21 to 23 inches wide is like a good, like a lot of people could find their comfortable spot between those sizes. And a lot of bars come 24.
Yeah, I run 24.
I only make my bars 24 wide.
Yeah.
So that way it's easy to cut them to 22.
Yeah.
It's just like an inch on each side.
And you could just make them 22, bro.
A lot of people run their bars 22. I think that's like the most popular bar width.
Yeah.
Well, we just dropped the Aria bar and still just plugging native products continuously.
What's your experience?
24 wide. And like, come to think of it, I don't know if anyone on the team runs 24 wide bars.
Clay.
It's just, okay,
really?
recently
he runs wide bars, yeah.
But it's just one of those
but
things
dude,
where
native, they're like thin. Like, think of Reese's bars. They're like almost David Parsons level. Like, he runs really narrow bars. Levi, really narrow bars.
If you want to know that Kai doesn't ride that narrow
bars. Not as narrow, but probably 20, probably 21.
Like,
yeah, something around that.
If you want to know the secret to native team riders' technicalities, just chop 2 inches off your bar.
What I was going to say is 50s and precisions, that I've noticed that the more narrow your bars are, the better, because you have because you're on top, you've got that aim. Whereas I was running narrow bars, I went to wider bars and I went to do a precision, and I just like felt like, because you're trying to aim your front wheel like this rather than just a slight adjustment. You know, the wider your bars, the bigger adjustment for a smaller wheel adjustment. So and even 50s, I felt like I was just like not landing right.
5.0s, if the bars are too skinny, you can't like get your side. With a 5.0, you got to get like a real side on.
You got to be
like you're on a skateboard 5.0 a bit like.
No experience with that, but.
Well, skateboard 5.0, but you got to turn your body a little bit sideways, mainly for that front 5.0.
Yeah.
I mean, a back 5.0 you do as well.
But you're leaning on a specific side of the scooter. If your grips are too centered.
If your bars are too thin, 5.0s become harder because you can't get your like torso past your the muscle in your arm, which in my case is a huge muscle. I've had that before, man, where I've like just noticed like, my bar width has got to be perfect for like 5.0s.
Yeah. So how do your calf muscles react with your scooter parts and
my calf muscles? Insert picture. I'm sure you know.
But how muscles interact with scooter ratio. That's what we're about to go into. No, I'm just talking shit. Because you're talking about your pecs, and I was like, so how do your calves?
Some people are stronger than others, so they can do double whips.
Well, for sure.
Ratios don't even matter. Just get big calf muscles. That's what we're saying, right?
I'm genetically unable to. I'm putting it down to genetics at this point. But
I used to be able to hop a lot higher than I can now, and my calf muscles, if anything, now are bigger than they ever were.
Yeah. Okay.
Bigger on the outside, smaller on the inside.
I don't even know what you mean by that.
I don't know what that means either.
Me neither.
So we were talking about bar width, and then we also mentioned like bar material. I think that plays into it.
Okay.
And especially in distribution, weight distribution, you've got a 7 by 24 long deck that weighs 2.4 kilograms or whatever. And then you've got aluminium bars, like, I think you all know what it feels like to ride bars that are super lightweight compared to super heavy bottom. It's just like no control. Like, your bars feel like they're like nothing, and it just feels so out of whack.
Is way out.
I think that is probably what it's meant to feel like, though, because you've got nothing on the back of your scooter. All your weight is at the front of your scooter.
Yeah.
And because we're used to just having like chromoly bars on a big deck, we're just used to that. But I think if someone got used to like really light bars on the front end of their scooter, it could feel like more natural, even though
It might play
isn't.
into like what we speak about with the difference between skateboarding and scootering. In skateboarding, you got both hands for one, but you're centered. It's like symmetrical almost, not completely obviously.
Yeah.
But
BMXers would have to deal with that, I guess, to some degree of their back being too heavy.
Yeah.
In the front. Sorry.
but what was like based off what you were saying, like if you worked on learning how to ride light bars, you might be able to get that more balanced experience in like board slides and stuff like that. They're not being such a heavy front end for you to like kind of adjust, or I'm not sure, but yeah, I think just bar material.
If my scooter weighed 4 kilograms and my deck was 3 of those kilograms, my scooter would be whack.
Yeah.
It would feel very whack. Where the weight is insanely important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
For sure.
So crucial. In golf, I don't know what it is because I don't like subscribe to that part of golf. I'd like to know more about it, but they have like swing weights, like D1, D2. And I don't know if there's the club head of the golf club, and there's also like the shaft. There's different materials of shafts and different makes for different flexes and stuff like that. But their industry, it's all like if you're into it, like what the swing weight of your like setup is, and it's according to the way your personal like swing, how fast you can swing and shit like that.
Yeah, wow.
And I just think that's like gnarly. Like I look at some other industries and I'm like, oh man, the level of technicality. Like obviously simplicity is the most beautiful thing ever, but technicality is freaking cool too.
Something with scootering, obviously, like 3 different metals that can be used, and like 10 different components, and there's like obviously all these different sizes. Yeah, it would be crazy if you could work out like a calculation to have your like that perfect ratio.
I'm just thinking about it now. You could like when you put your scooter on. Like sometimes when you put your scooter on like Coke cans or whatever, just to see if you can.
Yeah.
And there's like a level where if you put it too far back, it falls back and stuff like that. We could like use something like that to make up like a measurement system for like front to back, and like the top of it has to be a certain like size, and then you put the part on it, and if it's like more than 10 centimeters from the like front, and it still doesn't like fall forward, or it shouldn't fall forward until it's like this far back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to
Imagine like you get it so that the Coke can's in the middle of your deck. Like you just have like a solid iron back wheel, or like just
well, coolest thing that ever happened in scootering and it did not take off and probably won't, is when Kevin DeMay did the Addict scootering.
BDM.
Hey?
BDM.
BPM.
Sorry.
Ballast. I just remember the word ballast, but he had the metal things that could go in
Balance point modulation.
Yeah, I thought it was that as well.
No, but the things they were called were ballasts.
Yeah.
BALLASTs. Ballast.
But the whole thing like was
called balance point modulation. Did he reference it as that, or is that just known?
That's what it is.
That's just the terminology that.
He referenced.
No, he
Okay. Yeah.
And I think he's going to be integrating that back into his parts soon, because it's
You think so?
well, yeah,
They
because
got
the new
threads at
forks,
bottom of their forks for it.
and
Oh,
they say
shit.
BPM compatible, and I was like when it said that, I was like, what BPM? What is that? And I was like, it felt so familiar, and now I know why.
Pretty crazy.
I did speak to Dean about it, and I think he was saying like it's just not something that they're ready to implement yet, but they're getting their parts ready to be compatible with that system.
Yeah.
So
I just don't feel like any parts are really that light that you need more weight.
I know. I'm like, why would you want more weight?
Just where the weight is.
I understand that, if you were certain, like, mainly for park riders, I think, and I just know because talking to Jay about it in such depth, like, you change from HIC to SCS, but now the stir is off.
Yeah,
The
that's insane.
Triples, all crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think-
where the weight is matters.
I think the issue is with the BPM thing is like depending on what you ride and the size you ride your parts, like your bars, like the weights are going to affect everyone differently.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like someone gets a 10 gram weight. Oh my God. a 10 gram weight. It would have to be a lot more than that.
It'd have to be like 100
It'd be
grams or
100
something.
grams at a time and stuff. But I remember theirs were 150 and 300 or something.
Yeah,
True.
for the forks.
Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, the
Like different bar heights and
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Yeah,
you have like a
if someone's got chromoly bars, someone's got aluminium
Yeah.
bars, or
Yeah.
someone's different strength. It's like
I'm
but-
sure they have a
all-
system where it's like if your scooter is whatever you are running, like whatever the weight kind of is in that front end, you know, or the back end.
Yeah,
you know.
it's not about. It's more so just like add 100 grams.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all
Yeah.
it is. Like, yeah.
I'm probably going to cop some, to be honest,
Yeah.
to put on my camera setup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, make it a little bit heavier.
You couldn't
Yeah.
just like sticky tape a rock to the.
yeah. An interesting thing I know is tilts decks are completely
They're balanced.
balanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
So,
Like
like,
considering
you
the
hold
head
it through the
tubes on
middle.
one side and there's nothing but a fender on the other side and dropouts.
Yeah.
But if you hold it directly in the middle, it's
Okay. Yeah.
It's
yeah,
balanced.
Yeah.
which that's just like I'm like, yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
I don't think it's exactly balanced.
Oh.
Like, it's not perfect, but I think it comes pretty close because that fender would have a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
The dropouts are quite thick.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
Yeah.
literally just thinking like, oh my.
They've really
How?
lightened out
And
the
it's
head
probably
tube.
and
Yeah,
it wouldn't
yeah.
be the middle of the extrusion, it'd be in the middle from like head tube to back end. So that, I guess you'd have more extrusion on one side
Yeah.
and less extrusion on the other side because the head tube.
Yeah.
So, but that's just interesting. I don't know personally what that does, what the benefit is there, or anything like that. But it's
Yeah.
something they're taking into consideration.
Riding my scooter, it being the tilt, it does feel like when you whip and whatnot, when you hop, it's very easy to level out. Like it's very it just happens very naturally, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus other decks, which you might hop and then like you get shot forward or
Yeah.
Yeah.
loop out because like the front end's too light or whatever.
Interesting.
Where the weight is matters. Are we staying on task? On
Yeah, we're staying on task, yeah. for sure.
Clamps, I guess.
From
Clamps,
bars?
well,
Did we
like the
cover
only-
bars?
Yeah, I think-
Titanium, aluminium.
Yeah.
Well, I
Chromoly,
think-
they're different weights and
I mean, titanium, you don't want bars too tall because of how much they flex.
flex.
Obviously,
Unless
like,
you like
the shorter the better.
You like it like that.
Um,
I loved titanium bars. I said this on another episode. The ones that I got from you were my favorite bars for ages because they had that rigidness in the design. That being said, the word rigid, I rode tilt rigid bars. Love tilt, love Colin, love
oh
the
my
rigid
god,
range,
this
but
frustrated me so much.
The bars, I couldn't do it. Like
He was trying to say that they're flexy. He's like, the
Well,
bars are flexing too much.
I
I'm like, they're
realised-
called rigid bars. Like, they are designed specifically to be not flexy.
I realized it wasn't the flex. It was the like.
The rigidity?
It was the difference in the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, because they were the
No,
same.
they're the same as
weight
tenacity
the
bars.
bars that I was
And,
riding,
yeah.
bro.
I think you did put
It's
on
where
some
the
new
weight is.
forks around that time.
No, but I put on the new forks and the SES, which are lighter than any other fork in SES.
Oh, you swapped your front axle, dude.
And I had the chromoly bars and was like, oh, okay, yep, good.
Yeah.
Then put those bars on and was like, there was a huge lag.
Yeah,
in my,
a lag, you were saying. Yeah.
in my pop. It was
I didn't feel
crazy.
anything. My scooter's very different to yours in regards
other
to
ways, yeah.
ratios. So it was like hard to get a good feeling of, the scooter. Like it's like, cause it already felt so strange compared to what I was riding. But I was like, I didn't feel, I suppose what you were feeling on it.
Aluminium bars into magnesium clamp into magnesium fork. No good, in my opinion. Chromoly bar into magnesium clamp into magnesium fork.
Yep.
Current setup, amazing, best thing ever. So, anyway,
I guess moving on to clamp, unless you got anything to say about bar
Well,
material.
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. But I think clamps are like the same. It's almost like the same thing as bars, like except for the different materials.
Because there's only one material.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
I think it's just because
aluminium
you're adding that
success.
you're adding that weight until. Oh yeah, I guess there's different types of aluminium in the clamps, but it's still aluminium. You know?
Yeah.
But you're just adding that weight to where your bars are, essentially, in a way. So I think like
Yeah.
It is a lot different though. I think HIC makes your scooter feel a lot different.
Mm.
But I think, a lot of SCSs are very, very similar in terms of like how they make your scooter feel. I think the really, really lightweight SCSs don't work well enough for me to use personally.
Yeah.
I've always ridden a rigid clamp, which
is not the lightest SCS.
It's not the lightest, but it's good because it's tall, so it solves the spacer issue.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that one.
Yeah.
But I think
I will say, and no shade on native, but how short native's foot tubes are would mean that it might not. Does it not come up to? Like, how did it interact with that?
So I make my forks fit perfectly with a native deck and a rigid clamp. So if you run a standard 3-inch SCS, a top cap on a native deck, it'll work like perfectly. It'll give you just enough room to tighten. So I was running my forks with the rigid, and it fits all together perfect.
Yeah.
But I did have to cut them down to run them on an Aztec.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Cut the forks down.
Yeah.
Like rethread them and.
Well, I make my thread a little bit lower.
Oh yeah.
So you
the
can
top
cut it.
Yep.
Pretty sure I cut off one thread, but it still worked. I just screwed a bolt up through the bottom of the fork to rethread it. I think like the main difference between clamps is like your compression system as well.
Yeah.
So we could like sort of say that's in the same sort of category.
Yeah.
I think SCS, it really focuses your weight like to the bottom of your bars, which I think can be you feel it more in bar spins and whips. I think with HIC, which is what I'm riding now with like the Aria bars, like the bar spins and whips are like a lot more effortless than
So would you say that a HIC clamp and HIC shim with oversized bars is lighter than an SCS clamp? Obviously no shim and just HIC bars, or like, oversized bars in there. Would you say that the HIC clamp and shim is lighter than the SCS clamp?
Yeah, I think so, because the SCS pretty much has your HIC shim built into the clamp.
A lot less material.
And then you've got like...
even though it's a whole shim,
Yeah.
it's 1 point.
Thin as material.
And then you've got the whole weight.
I don't know
of
about
the
yours.
SCS.
You got the Ethic
But
steel
then-
shim, but
Then you have oversized bars, which over the whole length of your bars, you've added a weight because of how.
Yeah.
but I was
the
I was
diameter
comparing oversized
just
bars in SCS compared to oversized bars in
yeah.
HIC.
Oversized bars in SCS.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot heavier.
Yeah.
I
I was just specifying that.
I think as well with
Keegan's like, I wasn't asking.
No. I was like,
was saying.
no, I was asking to specify. It's just for my own
yeah,
reference.
and when you're running HIC, your clamp doesn't have to be like structurally strong. All it does is hold the bars on.
Yeah.
And with an SCS, it has to be a lot beefier because there's a gap in between the bar and the fork.
Yeah.
So you have to have a strong clamp if you run an SCS.
Well, a HIC clamp needs to be strong enough to stop a bar from sliding off a shim.
Yeah.
But not
nothing else.
Not strong.
Yeah.
Not strong enough to.
Not structurally have to do anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if it can break from leverage if it was an SCS because it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, put it this way: I see ethic riders riding self clamps, which is what I'm running. I remember the double self clamp, which weighs next to absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean they all ride it, so I don't know what their experience is with it, but if they're riding it, then I've seen some people actually ride a self double with a self single to make it like a triple.
Yeah.
I don't think you really need that.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't, but obviously my riding, like I can't base it off
you don't
my
ride
riding.
a self single?
Because I don't have one.
Well, you said that.
I have ridden one in the past, but it was the whole setup was a bit sketchy. Like I had not much fork coming out of the deck, and so it was the system that was really wrong, not the clamp.
Okay.
So I didn't get a full good idea of what the clamp felt like. But yeah,
I'm definitely on the tune of like the magnesium clamp and fork that I have is I like the way that it dropped off so much weight from my scooter, like here and here, like not just in one spot. Like if I had have just gotten one of them, I probably would have still like ran it and stuff to test it. But I don't know, it's just like it just worked so much, like losing weight. Like also,
I mean, that's like that takes up the whole front end of your scooter. It's not just the fork prongs and then the clamp. It's the clamp, top of the clamp, all the way down to the
true. The
fork
whole
prongs.
fork tube and everything.
Yeah,
That whole area. But
Yeah.
my riding has never been better than when I like took like that. I don't know, 200 grams off the front, and like I noticed it. Now I'm used to it, but on the day I was like, oh my god, but then you just get used to it straight away.
That's
but
where all
also,
your weight is, I think.
Increments. Change your scooter incrementally.
Yeah.
One part at a time. Maybe I shouldn't have done the SCS and the fork at the same time, I guess. But
Imagine if I rode my scooter right now, 7 by 23 long, 28-inch high bars in HIC, like 10 years ago from my Grit Complete.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I was a different size person back then as well.
Yeah.
But like, it would feel completely strange and just whack, So like, incrementally definitely makes a difference. Like if you gradually go to something else, you're probably not going to feel it as much. But
and like the whole scene is gradually stepped up in size as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except for the 5 to 6 jump, which we got to thank Aztec for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
There was like not many decks in between
MVP,
5 and 6.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it went, I don't think, like Native was 5.1, but
and
Quadrum and the
Quadrum,
they were both 5.3, which is still a
oh,
very
yeah.
I don't know, was
Quadrum
the
was
North even
5.2.
a thing then? When
Yeah,
Aztec did the 6?
North.
Yeah. The North
5.3.
the North 5 point.
The Gouch, like the first
That
one.
was a thing?
Like
Yeah. So funny back then when like something like came at 5.1, 5.3, Aztec 6, man, I would just order as many as whoever had them had.
Yeah.
As many as I could get. It's just like, and they just like, it was game over. Like,
I'm pretty sure when we were sampling the first Natives, that's before like anything was bigger. Like 5.1 was the biggest.
Oh,
That was the
when
biggest
we
one
were
we were
writing the
sampling,
prototypes of the 5.1 Advent, the original Advent. That was
because there was
and
like
flat bottoms, straight sides.
straight sides. There were a couple of, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 5s. There was the Elite,
Yeah.
Elite and TSI, and no 5 wides were 5 on the bottom.
Wow, how
and
crazy is
had
that?
true 5.0 space as well,
Aztec was 5, the fountains.
but
not
4.5 on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so 4.5 5.0s as well.
Yeah.
And so like the Elite was 5. I think that actually had flat sides.
Yes.
But it was called the 5.0. Funny enough, it didn't have
5.0
completely
things.
square. It was like somewhat square at the back, but not completely
Well, no,
square.
it like went like just curved with those like things. It was like, oh man, you were so close to being like a year ahead of everyone, like, but you just missed that like major crucial.
Then
part.
there was the Proto Space. I think that came out before. It did come out before the Advent 1. Oh, not that Space. Sorry, the Space.
Yeah, the Space,
there was
yeah.
a Space. Yeah.
4.8 on the bottom.
If that was it. Oh yeah, it was just a slight angle up, but 4.8 on the bottom. It would have had 5.0s though, because it had the cylindrical deck ends. But yeah, Native definitely first over true 5.
Unfortunately, didn't come out before the bigger decks came out.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think the Quadrum was.
Oh yeah, because
Already out,
I rode the Quadrum a little bit while we were filming the Native video.
Root Air 5.1.
No, that come out after.
5?
They come out way after.
Yeah, the first
Ended
flat
up
bottom.
coming out way after.
Yeah, they come out way too slowly
with that.
for their own good.
Got 4 minutes left on this recording of this one.
Right,
We were
clamps.
getting
I think
to
we've kind of got-
clamps.
Yeah.
Should we just go wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we're going wheels, we should probably like stop.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All
Right,
right.
onto wheels.
We're back after that stop and start. So we'll explain what wheel sizes do in regards to weight and geometry and whatnot. But we've got another question from ST1LPY. What wheel sizes do you guys prefer personally and why? So I think we can integrate these questions together because
What is that handle?
Yeah.
Stilky ST.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was
okay.
thinking. Like,
I just heard it as letters and numbers.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I heard it
Dan?
and I was like, is that the... I don't know if that's his first name.
I
It
just
might be.
didn't know if it was meant to like.
I have a
Stilpy
feeling
or-
I know who that is anyway.
Yeah,
But
but-
maybe he's changed his handle but kept some parts of his old handle. Anyway.
But yeah, I think why we prefer the wheel sizes we do is sort of like that reason, like for the geometry and whatnot. So
Yeah. 110 by 24 for me.
Yep.
Yeah,
Why is that?
Yeah.
How does it interact with your riding and your scooter parts?
I couldn't bear the thought of being further off the ground, even by, I say anymore, but I've ridden stem wheels for a long time, and that was okay. But little bit bigger wheels, awesome for hangers, just knowing that there's that little bit more. But yeah, I wouldn't ride a wheel wider than 24 mils for losing 50 space is the, big one. What?
Just the fact that you were doing 50s and 50s with a 5.1.
But we've adapted.
Yeah, I know, but now we're on 6.2. You're on 6.25.
Yeah. So what?
And you're
now
afraid
I'm gonna
to
go make my wheel bigger and lose 3 mil.
Yeah, so you which is it equals out to you pretty much riding a 6. You know what I mean? But you're it's still an inch more than
coming
you were.
from the guy who rides loose, tiny spaces. So that his back wheel would shift to one side so that he could get 6-inch.
I don't really do that anymore. And when I was doing that, it was on. When I was really doing it, it was on the fountain deck, which was only 4.5 on the bottom.
Yeah.
All right. So and I was
He
running
would
24.
run his back
I
wheel
was
so
running 24
loose that it
wheels.
would move to the side so that he could get more 50 space on the side he was 50.
It's a bloody fantastic tactic if you are interested.
Spaces, bro.
Well, no, that's just silly. Don't be silly.
But anyway, I just. But not only that, it's not really like there's a reason for it. To be honest,
Familiarity.
Hey,
Familiarity.
I've done the different wheels. I've tried the different wheels and stuff. I guess I haven't really given 125 by 30 a real good crack. I believe in it. I understand that that's a big part of scootering. Just because I say 110, I'll never ride. Not never, I won't say never, but I have no plans to really ride anything other than 110 by 24, but I also manufacture a 125 by 30 with a 12 mil standard bearing. I have friends who ride that and love that, make scooter parts for the whole market and stuff. But yeah, me personally, I'm just have never felt the need.
Yeah.
I can't, there's no time where I've ever been bigger wheels would have been better for that.
Yeah.
In diameter or width.
Yeah.
And I've put bigger wheels on. They don't help with rail rides. I don't understand that mentality because it's a bigger.
I think they do.
They definitely do. So you've.
Wouldn't you want a skinnier wheel on the rail that you're trying to ride? Therefore, you can be more in the center of the rail that you're trying to ride.
You're not more in the center. You look like you're more in the center because you're not expanded out more. But the center where all of the gravity is.
You've got more room for error with the bigger wheels for precisions. You can carve a little bit on the rail and you can bring it back. You know what I mean?
No, it's literally if this is the thickness of the rail and the thickness of the wheel is my finger, I'm ooh, look, I got all this room for the rail ride. Okay, now my wheel is this thick. Even thicker. Oh, I've got less room. I can't go
Okay, let me explain
too far to the side.
Let me explain it to you like this.
I'll fall off.
This is the rail, right? This is the center.
People can't see that.
Yeah,
I don't know if they can see mine either.
This is the rail. This is the 24 millimeter wheel, right? The center of the 24 millimeter wheel. Yeah. If the center of the 24 millimeter wheel is here, it's fallen off, right?
Yeah.
And it's only got this much left, but the 30 mil wheel is got more on that side, which means that it would still be on the rail.
If you're on that part of the rail, you're a fucking idiot anyway.
No, you
don't ride the side of rails with your wheels.
No,
you ride the middle.
But what I'm saying though is if you go off that much, there is a point where a 24 millimeter wheel would drop off and the 30 mil wheel would still be on.
No,
and think about square.
To that point
think about
either of the wheels, they both fall off. That's what I'm saying.
No. Yeah, nah though.
They do.
No,
it's like
there's
saying
a point.
If you had a 100 millimeter wide wheel, just because the center gets over the rail,
that's wider than the.
But it's the same logic.
Yeah, same
logic.
If
you take the edge of that 100 millimeter wide wheel to the edge of the rail, you're gonna fall off.
No, dude, it's
Yes, once you get to
100
the
millimetre
edge of
wide
the-
wheel can
Yeah,
move
but-
this far without
what
still being
happens
on
when
it.
that? Yeah, I get that.
And
I
you can be
get
like
that.
this,
But
just trying to lean on that side of the wheel.
The scooter would look like a steamroller.
I understand
I've actually
what
thought
you
about
guys
wider
are,
wheels,
are
by the way.
saying.
I've attempted to use this.
I understand what you guys are saying. You probably understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I'm wrong, but
You are.
Logically, yes, but I would say it's a very minimal difference. It's a very minimal difference,
Yeah.
but I do believe in it. I do back in it.
Why can
feel
BMX's like precision crazy shit? Because their wheels are even wider than ours.
well,
and
and
the
they
massive compression of their
Yeah,
like,
they
wheels
Yeah.
bending
run,
over the like rail and stuff like that. I don't think that's
not very
a-
pumped wheels.
Yeah, I don't think that's a comparable like.
Well, yeah, it has
reference.
another
And I
factor,
think
and that's the pneumatic.
But
The difference
width
between
does make a difference.
24 and 48 mil wide scooter wheels,
Is that considerable?
you know,
yeah,
maybe, but 24 versus 30, you really think
it's
there's
3 mil.
You really think there's anything you can't
And it's not only
rail ride?
It's not.
bike
It's not
because
only
of the wheel.
More friction.
It's not
I
only
just
the
don't know.
width. It's the profile of the urethane.
Yeah.
So Ethic has got a very mellow urethane profile.
Yeah,
which
I
would
can
help a lot.
see. I can see that.
I think
I'm not
most
saying
studies have
that
that.
like scientifically what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys are saying is accurate, but I'm saying
In reality, like
a
the feeling.
reality blind double test, whatever.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
two people of identical skill
Yeah.
levels cloned. Like if you got freaking. I don't know, Nick Tedrick, who actually, does he do gnarly rail rides?
Oh, yes.
Only
and
started
The
doing them
gnarliest.
with
when he got
30s.
his 31.
Yeah.
But I betcha if you
That may
could
just be
s-
what influenced it, like
I bet
inspired
you if
it.
you could magically somehow put 24 wides on his scooter without him being able to see the difference and stuff, he'd still
And
be
feel
able
it
to
while
do
rolling
it.
up. I can.
Oh, like-
They feel so different when you get used to
Anyway.
30s, but
But personally, yeah, never
yeah.
felt the need.
Yeah.
That was my very long answer to 110 by 24. Please and thank you. Yeah. And how it affects my scooter. Also, the lighter you
Yeah.
can't have a big heavy wheel at the back. Like, not that I do wit, but for spins. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll go next. For me, like I prefer 110/24 if you've seen my clips, but I wish that
If you haven't, go check them out.
Thank you. But I wish that I liked 30. Like there just seems to be so much benefits.
Yeah.
Like and
I can agree with you there.
yet you don't write them
me.
because they're not better.
No, there is benefits. So I like
Because there's logic and then there's like your own personal experience, I suppose.
Which is the,
Yeah.
the truth.
But people
Yeah.
have their own personal. Everybody has their own
Yeah,
personal.
yeah,
But what exists in every single one of those is the logic.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
and I think being closer to the ground is sort of irrelevant to me. even though-
Irrelevant or relevant?
Irrelevant.
Okay.
I think the 2.5.
Irrelevant.
Like I'm just gonna because if I rode 30s, it'd be 115s.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go off that.
the 2.5 mil difference.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
you'd really be able to tell a whole lot. Like maybe a little bit, but you're gonna wear them down
Yeah.
until they feel the same as 110s anyway.
2.5 mil difference in height compared to 3 mil difference in width of the 30 versus 24.
Yeah, that's a lot different
Yeah,
because
I
like
guess.
the ratios are different. You got
Yeah.
110 versus 24,
Yeah.
so it's a bigger percentage of the 24 added to the width,
Yeah.
and it's 6 mil, not
It
3.
is, man, you got to admit, though, it's freaking crazy, like what we're talking about.
the
3 mil
tiniest.
on
Yeah.
either side, 2.5 mil difference
Yeah.
height. But I genuinely mean that when I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, 110, nah, 115, nah, no thank you, 110 please. Like, and yeah, like you said, that's 2.5 mil difference. It's like, you don't even know. I mean, I could, the same thing I said about the 30 mil wires for getting Nick Tedrick to do a blind test on his,
Yeah.
if you put me on 115s
And
without
just
me knowing.
like put you on it and just pushed you.
Yeah.
You'd
And
be
I'm
like,
I wouldn't be, oh my God, I'm so high off the ground. Sorry, cut you
Yeah.
off major there, but I just had a revelation.
So I don't notice the height off the ground so much,
Mm.
but I do notice the lack of foot space. Like on a 115, even though it's very minimal, I still notice
Well,
it a
it's
fair
the
bit.
same measurement. It's the 2.5 mil.
Yeah, no, but I think where my feet are, I can notice like how far
Yeah,
away my foot
Because
is.
you only have this much foot room
Yeah.
on a deck, so when you lose
Yeah.
2.5 mils of it, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
and like I think like
Holy shit.
the experience of being like high off the ground is like your perception with your eyes. You know, nothing else feels that difference. You know what I mean? So like,
What the perspective difference?
Yeah, it's just-
from
it's like-
2.5 mil higher.
like, and your
like I can see the beach from here.
Well, it's like obviously like your eyes are like you're looking there's so many things you're looking at. You're not going to notice that you're that only a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Whereas your feet, they only have such limited feeling.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You've got this much room to lose a tiny bit of that's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, before I get cut off again.
Sorry. I'm just going to cut you off and say, we're not alone. People watch... we're not the only 3 scooter riders in the world that think about this shit.
No, absolutely not.
There has to be more out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below if you are like this, just so we know.
Well, anyway, the foot space is another...
I'm going to cut you off. No,
Shut up.
I'm so sorry. It's getting late at night.
Yeah.
Continue,
The only other thing, aside from like the lesser foot space that I notice, is not really the smaller 50 space. I don't think it's the smaller 50 space that anyone even feels. I think it's where your scooter sits in a 50 in comparison to the lack of 50 space. Like you're more to the side of the rail.
Yeah. You can get less on top of it now.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed because, I have upgraded my deck width and also put on 30s at the same time. And even though I've got the same 50 space, I feel like I'm just a little bit more to the side.
Yeah.
Even though it's very minimal, but I'd rather be like right on top of a 50, easier to get on and lean over.
Mm-hmm.
I think, that's a really good point. Yeah. And I think it's important to note that even though we're like, oh my God, these micromillimeters, how would you notice? They are micro measurements. Even if they don't logically make that much sense, like, bro, no one can feel freaking 2 mils difference or this difference. It's not about that. It's about what you think and how much that has to do with.
For sure.
And if your wheel's 110 or if it's 115 or if it's 24 mil wide and if it's 30. And with scootering, when we're working with the rails we're riding, the things that we're hitting, they're also micro measurements.
Yeah.
If we know that if you're like, 7 wide deck on top, but it's 5 wide on the bottom.
Yeah.
You freaking know, and the 50 is scarier than 7 wide 50 with 7 wide on the bottom.
Reece Jones did a whip to 50 barefoot on a 4.5 inch deck, and I can tell you, right now, one of the reasons he did that, other than being a very skilled scooter rider, is, Reece just, don't mean to be mean, but doesn't think. He's just like, I'm gonna do this whip to 50 like I was doing it with shoes on. Yeah. And that's like what I've struggled with riding barefoot, funny enough, is like I get too hyper focused on that element. But I'm like, if I just did the exact same thing as I've always done for the past 12 years of my life, it would be that, I shouldn't be scared, but you just get, it's just a mental thing. Yeah. So it's definitely like all about your own perspective of
the way you think, for sure.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think 110/24 for me. I think like scraping isn't an issue. I'm running 110/24 on a 7 wide that has 6.7 on the bottom.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty fine. I haven't really scraped at all. Like maybe if I did a really sharp like cab out of a fakie trying to hang on to it, I probably would scrape on the ground.
Yeah. In a way that you would probably lose you'd probably screw up in some other way if you were doing.
If you didn't scrape, you would land so slow out of the half cab and
scraping is, although how much bowl and stuff you've been riding, I'm pretty sure that's where it comes into it maybe a bit more.
I've been riding a fair bit of transition.
But transition, can you really scrape in?
Yeah,
you're already,
definitely.
You're already leaning in the transition.
That's what I mean. You're never pumping up and
There are certain elements though, coming out of a grind, say, I don't know, or a crook, and just not being able to correct or come out as I don't know the right word, right angle as possible, and you land sideways. I feel like there's definitely room for scrapage.
It's like that clip you filmed me in the nose manual tutorial.
Yeah.
Right at the nose manual.
Yeah.
Drop in.
That wasn't on a 7 wide, but you were scraping on the drop in because you were so sideways.
That was also part fault of me. I think I probably would have scraped on a lot of different decks.
Yeah. And that was a mellow frick quarter that you were coming into. Very
Which
scrapeable.
No, it's less reason.
Oh yeah, true. If it's steeper, you've got way more chance of okay, my bad.
But I wish that I liked 30.
You'll never catch me. Nah, I'm already on the record for the 30 mil wide. Don't make rail rides easier, but so
Yeah.
it's gonna lose all my credibility when people. Keaton hasn't gone yet.
Yeah, I do know that. But anyway, just to sum it up, I wish I liked 30 wides, but I don't really. So 110/24 for me.
Therefore, 110/24.
I can
Better than 30 wide.
segue by saying I agree with you, but on the diameter of wheels. So in my head, I would love to be riding 125s. I rode 125s a little bit before my scooter got stolen. But it was hard for me to adjust to it. And then when I went back to 115s by 30s, because I ride 115 by 30s at the moment, it just felt so good. Even though I'd been riding those 125s for a while.
Because of the foot space that you've just gained?
No, not the foot space. It was the...
Oh yeah, I suppose it's more on the one that's more a bigger difference. Yeah.
One element was definitely manuals. So just having because it's a bigger wheel, you've got more space to obviously balance
Larger wheel
the
base?
manual. No, not larger wheelbase, like larger
But
wheel
you do
diameter.
have a larger wheel base on the bigger wheel.
No, it doesn't change.
No, it doesn't change because
The wheelbase is how far apart they are.
the axles.
Well, but two identical wheelbase scooters, one with 110, one with 125.
So the wheel would be
125,
back further.
where the wheels touch would actually be a little bit further away on the 125 than the 110s.
No.
Where the wheels
Or
touch.
would it be because it's from the center of the axle?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But so basically, like on a, you think about trying to balance on something like this, and you're trying to stay center. It's going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
But on this, it's going to be to stay center.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
way slower. So the bigger the wheel, the more space you have to lean backwards and forward without the wheel dropping essentially. And so it makes sense that 125 should be better for manuals, but I was just struggling to find that balance point or get comfortable because it's also a slower rise and drop. So with a smaller diameter, it's like the movements are a lot more jittery or jagged, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then the bigger, so I was struggling to like have almost like the patience to bring it up and drop it down slowly. And I was just struggling to find a balance point, but logically it should make sense, but the feeling of it just didn't feel right. And then like, there are benefits like you were saying with hangers, hurricanes, like you see the clip every now and then of somebody going for a hurricane and their back wheel just like misses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's like
So
less
big,
chance of that happening. 50s.
Ethic.
Pardon?
Palabar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I think of whenever I think of someone missing a hurricane.
Who did it again?
Jojo Cadge's Ethic.
Right, yep. 50s, again, like anything with your wheels against the rail or ledge, they obviously drop down further. So you've got like more kind of...
Less fear of going to 50 the rail and going over the whole thing.
Yeah.
Makes
Makes predators harder. Yeah,
'cause
so it
you
actually makes
get
predators
more
harder.
Over. Yeah.
But yeah, so there were just like elements of the 125s that I was like, it makes so much sense. It should be so much better. But when I went back to 115s, I was like, whoa, this is like my spot. I feel like I'm still like almost tempted to go back to 125s eventually, but it's, I think
try 110 by 24, bro.
no. After riding 30 mil wides not even for so long, but like when I go back to 24 mils, I say this to everybody, it feels like I'm riding on CDs.
Yeah.
Like I look down and I'm like, this is not natural. This is not what a scooter is supposed to be. Like I feel like these things are just gonna snap.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Before we go too far on from like the diameter difference, do you think that you didn't like manuals as much on the 125s because of where your foot is? Because I find manuals
Possibly.
harder, like with the
Because your
with less
foot's
foot
2.5
space.
Foot's further.
further.
Further. So, just like literally just to lift up. And like I said, it comes into the balance point as well, like the curvature. You got to lift up more to just get into that point. You're always going to have to
do anything really.
Yeah. And then that's a good point with where your foot is and where it needs to be over the wheel for your center of gravity to be, in the right spot. Yeah. That'll definitely play into it as well.
Yeah. I don't know how people ride 125s. Zayden,
Speed.
Gomez, like how do you guys do it?
Man, speed, like riding I remember the first time I put on 12 mil wheels, 125s, and I rode a bowl, it felt nothing like it. I was just going so fast and so smooth. It felt amazing. you know, obviously like, yeah, so then there's the elements of like less scrapage on things like that as well.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to think of like other kind of benefits that I see, but yeah, and then 30 wides, like, I will never go back from 30 mil wides. It's just, yeah, I mean, I like to do precisions.
Yeah.
And I believe it helps me, so I'm gonna let it stick true to that.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure it does. I think it was just for me.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, it doesn't. When I look down, I'm like, no, that doesn't help. I want thinner wheel, see more of the rail, be more.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting. I have thought of that in the past.
Yeah. I might have to try 30s on a 7 wide. I haven't.
Yeah, this is messed up. I'm like sitting here like after saying that, I'm like, dude, imagine I tried 125, 30, or 115.
It makes so much sense in my opinion. You go out higher off the ground. I didn't really
street stuff where the ground's like a bit rough.
Yeah, for sure.
Having like 12 mil standard wheels would be like insane.
Yep.
Do you feel like you have to push more to get speed going? Like,
you gotta like bend down more, like
no, because there's more of it to move. You know,
oh my god,
wheel, like it's harder to get.
One push is gonna get you the same distance away.
Yeah.
Kind of making a joke.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no,
I don't understand the physics.
Yeah, neither.
Of wheels like to that level.
Yeah.
While I'm thinking of this as well, sorry to like interrupt.
No, you go for it, mate.
Segment.
I interrupted you many times, so
yeah, you did. I don't feel bad anymore.
I take back my apology.
Yeah,
for interrupting.
I'm not sorry. But in regards to like scooter, like ratio and like not really weight, but like just how your scooter feels. If you're going to bigger wheels in diameter, like let's say you're going from a 110 to a 125 to try it, it might be a good idea to get a longer deck. So that way your foot space feels the same, because if you go from a 110 to a 125, it's going to feel so different. Your scooter's going to feel like an inch shorter.
Yep. And like the you have to go up higher for a manual, and like because your bars are like this close to you, you're going to be much more like this. Whereas if your deck was longer, your bars would be like that little bit further away from you. Yeah, it makes sense to have a longer deck. The longer your wheels are, the bigger the diameter of your wheels are. But yeah, and like I was just going to say, in regards to the width, losing, you know, what turns out to be 0.3 inches of like, you know, your total 50 room, it doesn't bother me. I prefer
a quarter of an inch.
A quarter of an inch, yeah.
But it bothers people when they, you know, will I get a 6 or a 5.75? That's enough to bother you.
Yeah. But I personally prefer less 50 room than more. I honestly don't like more than 6 on the bottom of my
I was like,
scooter.
I can get you one that's got like 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, like, not less than like I mean I was even riding 30s on a Lucid deck. That was the last time I rode the super loose wheel, because the Aztec Lucid was 6, but like it was like 5.3 on the bottom or something, like brutal. So I was like, well, I'm going back to 5 by riding 30s on this deck. Yeah. So that was pretty brutal. Yeah. But like riding it, actually, that was a good time for me, mentally, because I wasn't so hyper focused on that. So I don't think it actually affected me too much. But yeah. So but anyway, I don't mind the lesser 50 room.
Yeah.
Because
when I always go to a smaller deck, I just tell myself like, dude, you could do this on a 4.8.
Yeah.
Like, why are you crying because you're riding a 6 with 5.5 on the bottom?
Yeah.
And he's literally like crying at the top.
Like, bawling my eyes out.
Yeah. I did a Predator on a fat square rail on a Pandemonium deck with no pegs. So like, it's just like, how could I ever complain?
Yeah. That's like batshit crazy.
Yeah. Like in this, like, I mean, yeah. So how could I ever complain about like small, like less 50 room?
I was doing 5.0s on Lindworm V1.
Yeah.
And now I can't even do them on a 7.
Yeah.
Maybe because of lack of practice. But
yeah.
Like, goddamn, times have changed.
So yeah. But yeah, that's you brought up some good points like that I hadn't thought about, like where your foot is, and you know, in having a longer deck.
I think
the bigger your wheels are and stuff like that.
The point that no one really thinks about is not the lack of 50 space; it's where your scooter's sitting on the rail.
And yeah, I haven't heard that either. That you getting deep.
Yeah, that was real good. That was a gem. I think fork. We covered fork like in the leg.
Deck, we've done that in obviously the last episode with
if you have
wheelbase
a
and
fork that is made to fit 30 mil wides, but you're only running 24s, and then when you do
You look disgusting.
Yeah.
That's me. And then do a crook.
Yeah.
You could be having more like room.
Yeah, for sure.
The crook, making the crook easier
Yeah.
by having wheels that are only made for
Forks
slim
that are
or,
made for
forks that are only made
slimmer
for-
wheels.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would only ride 30 wide forks if I was riding 30 wide
wheels.
That-
Yeah.
I really like the idea of like bringing like steel forks back, like just like the thinness and like
So
the
that they can get
smoothness
super
and
thin?
stuff like that. But the thing
Yeah.
that I can't solve is obviously the axle.
The
The axle is always going to be
no
a
matter how
certain.
thin the fork is, it's the axle is. I just
Yeah.
saw your face like, wait, what? Do you get what he means? The axle's still got to be like
Certain thickness.
certain width from one end to the
yeah.
other.
Like steel can be like
matter how-
1 mil fucking thick, you know, like
Yeah.
2 mil thick. But
the
like,
axle's still going to be smaller than it would on an aluminium fork.
I mean, not really. A 24 mil aluminium fork can get to the point where there's like just a couple mils of aluminium on either side of.
I mean, like
wheel.
the axle on the Versa sticks further out than the fork
Yeah.
prong. So if you had that exact axle in
What's
a steel
like the
fork,
thinnest aluminium fork?
The axle would have to like be shorter in order to work properly.
But I think if you've got tilt flush,
tilt flush mounts very, very thin. Yeah, the F5
an axle like that on a
steel.
fork,
Yeah,
you could
that could
be,
be really
getting
good.
the slimmest fork possible, therefore
100%.
maximizing blunt room and crook space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the shit that keeps us up at night.
yeah,
Quite
Literally.
Literally,
it's
like,
here keeping
11
us
o'clock
up
at night.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it is insane.
I've got a design for a fork that there's a system where the axle sits above the wheel, just so I can have no axle down the bottom where I'm doing like
Do you
overcrooks.
also have a fork design where the axle, where the fork leg is only on one side?
No, that's like
Inward scooters.
Inward
did that.
scooters did that. Yeah. No, I don't have that.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
And you choose, depending which side you blunt and crook on.
Oh my
Which
God.
one you want to crook on.
Yeah,
crook
yeah.
And blunt
Bro,
on
they
the
had that
most.
fork made.
Yeah, that fork
Like, it was a
produced.
real-
That was a real fork.
It wasn't sold, but it was a
Oh.
real photo of a fork
Yeah.
with one leg.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it was produced, but it wasn't sold.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why would you even make that? Like,
Yeah.
that's probably like the most expensive April Fool's post a scooter brand has done. If
It was probably welded. It was probably like
They
No,
probably
it
got
was
their own.
CNC'd.
They
No.
probably got their own CNC machine.
Yeah, they
like,
did.
in house.
okay.
It's
Rest
just
in
like
peace, Inward scooters. They were fucking
bit
sick.
of good bit of fun for
I
them.
wonder if they brought those out, would there be like a left fork and a right fork for people that are like goofy and reg?
yeah. Well, there's zero offset.
How would you run a peg
Like
on the
either
other
way.
side?
No, but that's the photo. There's a photo with somebody running the peg on the side. It's just going straight into the wheel. Like, it's actually a thing, dude. Yeah.
I'm glad that didn't catch on. That's
Yeah.
so stupid.
Dude, who was the one saying decks that are like 7 wide, but the center is offset? So if you on your front side 50, you've got like way more 50 space, and if you never do
I think we
backside
were talking
50s,
about that.
if you never do backside 50s, it can just all be front 50.
I've always said
You can
Oh
have
my
like
God,
freaking
dude.
5 inches of front 50 room, but no back 50 at all.
I've always said like Clay's signature native bar should be like the width of 18 on one side and 22 on the other.
Yeah.
Because he's
Right,
always
like
got
that.
one grip out, one grip in.
Yeah.
Oh my god. We're going to have to wrap it up there. Did we get through all
Yeah.
that good?
Yeah,
For sure.
All the rest of the stuff is in the wheelbase and head tube angle. So
Yep.
go and watch that on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And if you like me and all of a sudden like want to try a new size wheel, there's a scooter shop you can go to. What was it? syndicatestore.com.au in case
Yep.
you need to try some new wheels now, like I'm going to. 115 by 30 I think I'm going to start with.
Damn.
Alright.
Peace.
Oosh.
Ooh.